Hey guys, welcome back with yet another video. In this lecture, we will be learning about physical and chemical properties of aldehydes and ketones. So let's begin. First, we will be learning about the physical properties of ketones and aldehydes. So first physical property is, here we see that lower members of aldehydes and ketones up to carbon number 10 are colorless volatile liquids except formaldehyde, which is a gas at ordinary temperature. That is, at room temperature, formaldehyde is a gas having an pungent smell. So lower aldehydes have unpleasant odor, but ketones possess pleasant smell. So you can see that aldehydes and ketones up to carbon number 10 are volatile liquid, colorless volatile liquid. Exception is formaldehyde, which is a gas. Lower aldehydes have very unpleasant smell, whereas ketone possess a pleasant smell. Then higher members of aldehydes and ketones are solid with fruity odor. So higher members means the members which have more number of carbons, that is, the carbon content of those members are greater than 10. So next we move on to solubility. So lower members of aldehydes and ketones up to carbon number 4 are soluble in water due to hydrogen bonding between polar carbonyl group and water. Here you can see that the carbonyl group is polar in nature. Why is it polar? Because oxygen is more electronegative than carbon, as a result of which the bonded pair of electrons are pulled towards oxygen, which in turn generates a partial positive charge in the carbonyl carbon and a partial negative charge in the oxygen of the carbonyl group. So we can see here that two poles are generated. So because of these poles, the carbonyl group has a dipole moment, and because of these poles, the carbonyl group can now coordinate with water. That is, here you can see that the oxygen bearing a negative charge will now be hydrogen bonded with the hydrogen of the water molecule. As you can see here, in water molecule, oxygen is more electronegative than hydrogen. The electronegativity of hydrogen is 2.1 and that of oxygen is 3.5. So you can see here that oxygen will bear a negative charge and hydrogen will bear a positive charge. Similarly, this hydrogen will also bear a positive charge, as a result of which the carbonyl oxygen will be bonded with the hydrogen of the water molecule through hydrogen bonding. So the lower members of aldehydes and ketones up to carbon number 4 are soluble in water because of the hydrogen bonding. Okay. Now solubility decreases with increase in molecular weight, that is increase in alkyl chain. So what does that mean? Means if we increase the molecular weight, the solubility of the carbonyl compound will decrease. And why this phenomenon takes place? So as you can see that water molecule is a polar solvent. Okay. So and we know that like dissolves like. Okay. That means that a polar compound will be dissolved in a polar solvent and a non-polar compound will be dissolved in a non-polar solvent. So what do you mean by here? Means dissolve or soluble. Dissolve or soluble is nothing but the compound is surrounded by the solvent molecules. In this very example, you can see that this carbonyl group is coordinating with water molecule. Similarly, here this oxygen will the carbonyl oxygen will also will be bonded over different water molecules. That is, the carbonyl group will be surrounded by different water molecules. Okay, so the water molecules will just dissolve the carbonyl group. But if we increase the alkyl chain length here, that is the molecular weight, if it is the molecular weight is increased here, the alkyl chain length if increases, then hydrophobicity, see here, this one and this one, these two are the alkyl or aryl groups. If we increase the chain length of the two substituents of a carbonyl group, then the hydrophobicity of the carbonyl group will increase. If the hydrophobicity increases, that means the carbonyl group will somewhat exert nonpolar features. So that is, it will be then partially soluble in polar solvents like water. So if we increase the molecular weight, then the coordination with hydrogen bond through hydrogen bonding will also decrease. That means the solubility will be decreased. That is, the solubility is inversely proportional to the molecular weight. If we increase the molecular weight, then solubility will decrease. Okay, so now we can see that aromatic aldehydes and ketones are much less soluble than corresponding aliphatic aldehydes and ketones due to large benzene ring. So you can see that aromatic aldehydes are much less soluble than corresponding aldehydes and ketones due to the benzene ring. Why? Because benzene ring, you can see here, benzene totally consists of carbon and hydrogen atoms, 6 carbon atom and 6 hydrogen atom. That means benzene ring increases the hydrophobicity of the carbonyl group, as a result of which the carbonyl compound will now be much less soluble than its corresponding aldehydes and ketones. However, all carbonyl groups are fairly soluble in organic solvents such as benzene, ether, chloroform, alcohol, etc. So you can see here that carbonyl compounds, all carbonyl compounds fairly soluble in organic solvents. Okay, organic solvents means nonpolar solvents, such as organic solvents means somewhat will be polar solvent also. That means here you can see that benzene, ether has polarity, of course, chloroform, alcohol, these are just organic solvents. It will not be soluble in inorganic solvents. Okay, now next we move on to boiling point. So boiling point of aldehyde and ketone is slightly lower than corresponding alcohol due to lack of hydrogen bonding. Now aldehydes and ketone, they do not possess any hydrogen bonding, as you can see in alcohol, that is ROH. Okay, and another molecule of alcohol you can see ROH. Okay, now here you can see that oxygen is much more electronegative than hydrogen, so hydrogen will have a partial positive charge and oxygen will have a partial negative charge. So you can see here in this molecule also, oxygen will bear a negative charge and hydrogen will bear a positive charge. So you can see here that oxygen and hydrogen are intermolecularly bonded with each other. If you consider the alcohol molecule, so here you can see that one oxygen of the first alcohol molecule is bonded to the hydrogen of another alcoholic molecule. As you can see, negative charges attracts each other, so this one is bonded through hydrogen bonding, whereas such hydrogen bonding is absent in aldehyde and ketones. Okay, so however their boiling point is slightly higher than that of corresponding non-polar hydrocarbon or weakly polar ether. And why this is so? This may be attributed to the reason that aldehydes and ketones are polar compounds and thus possess intermolecular dipole-dipole interactions. So here you can see that, as I have explained earlier, that carbonyl compounds, in carbonyl compounds the carbonyl group have a dipole moment because of the two poles generated due to the different electronegative values. So here the oxygen bearing a negative charge will be interacted with the carbon of another molecule of carbonyl compound bearing a positive charge. So you can see here that opposite charges are attracting each other, but here the force of attraction will be much less because the electronegativity of oxygen and carbon is not that great as compared to electronegativity difference of hydrogen and oxygen. So the charge separation will not be that much, that is the charge density will be less compared to that of alcoholic group. As a result, here the interaction will not be that much of strength as compared to alcohol molecules. Here the interaction is of dipole-dipole interaction, means dipole means two poles. So here you can see that the two poles generated due to electronegative difference is now interacting with another two poles that is generated because of the electronegativity difference. So here one pole is interacting with another pole of the dipoles generated in the two molecules. So that is, it is known as dipole-dipole interaction. And this interaction is absent in non-polar hydrocarbon. Okay, here you can see that non-polar hydrocarbon, not polar hydrocarbon, non-polar hydrocarbon. That is, you can take an example of hexane, butane, then uh, just simply alkyl chains, okay, or weakly polar ether. This non-polar hydrocarbon or weakly polar ether does not have this dipole-dipole interaction. Okay, so you can see that boiling point of carbonyl compound is directly proportional to the molecular weight. Okay, due to molecular weight, another thing is there, due to molecular weight van der Waals force of interactions increases, and plus this dipole-dipole interaction is there. So because of these two, the boiling point of the aldehydes and ketones increases. Now among the isomeric aldehydes and ketones, boiling point of ketones is slightly higher than that of aldehydes due to the presence of two electron donating alkyl chains, making them more polar. As you can see here that propanal, okay, propanal is, and here is, it is an aldehyde, and this propanol is a ketone. So you can see that in propanal boiling point is 322 Kelvin, whereas propanal has 322 Kelvin boiling point, whereas in propanon the boiling point is 329 Kelvin. Why is it so? Here you can see that carb this methyl group, and here hydrogen group. Methyl group has an electron donating tendency, that is methyl group has plus I inductive effect. Okay, so here the positive charge generated in the carbonyl carbon atom is somewhat stabilized by this methyl group. As you have learned in the stability of a carbocation, that if more number of alkyl groups which can stabilize the carbocation is present, then that molecule will be stable. Same kind of thing is also happening here. The carbocation you can visualize as this carbon as carbocation. You can visualize this carbon as carbocation. Okay, so now this methyl group has plus I inductive effect, so it will try to stabilize this carbocation by pushing the bonded electron towards itself, towards that, sorry, not towards itself, towards the carbocation. Okay, as a result this carbocation will develop a very small positive charge. Okay, del del plus small positive charge. Okay, now if we see here in this propanol, there are two methyl groups. So two methyl groups will be sharing the positive charge. As a result, here the first methyl group will bear a very small positive charge, and the second methyl group will also bear the same positive charge. Here see, I am giving del value. Del means very small. Okay, this one small delta. Capital delta is like this one is capital delta triangle, and small delta is like d, just like this. Okay, so now you can see that if you compare propanal and propanon, okay, here only one electron donating alkyl group is present, and here two alkyl donating groups are present. So in propanol, you can see here, okay, this one oxygen is minus charge. The plus charge is extend towards methyl group. So you can see here the charge separation. Okay, this much is the charge separation. Whereas in propanol, you can see the charge separation here, plus also here. So the extent of charge separation is much more in propanol as compared to propanal. So, and what do you mean by dipole moment? Dipole moment is the moment generated by two dipoles created. Okay, dipole moment, that is mu, is proportional to d, that is the distance between the two charges. So here you can see that in propanol, okay, in propanol the dipole moment is larger than propanol, because here the separation of charges is more as compared to propanol, that is the distance is more. As you can see here that here two methyl groups bears a positive charge and one oxygen, here this one is negative charge. Okay, so you can see here two methyl groups have separated the charges much more as compared to that of propanol. So here the dipole moment is more, and because of that the boiling point of this propanol is also large in value as compared to boiling point of propanol. Okay, so boiling point is more as compared to propanol. Okay, because of two alkyl groups making the molecule more polar. More polar means more polar means its boiling point values will be high. If you see alcohol is more polar than carbonyl group. Okay, so alcohol will be having higher boiling point than carbonyl compounds. See, more polar means boiling point will be high. Now, next we move on to the chemical properties of carbonyl group. First, we will be looking at the structure of the carbonyl group. Okay, so in carbonyl group, carbon is sp2 hybridized. Okay, here you can see sp2 hybridized. sp2, as you can see here, means it will contain three hybrid orbitals. Okay, one, you can see here that one s and two p2 orbitals hybridized among themselves to produce three new orbitals. Okay, three orbitals having sp2 character. So one s and two p2 orbital, one s and two p orbitals combine among themselves to form three orbitals which will be sp2 hybridized. So here you can see that carbonyl carbon has tetravalency, so it will have four orbitals. Three of them is utilized to form three new sp2 hybrid orbitals, and one will remain unhybridized p orbital, and p orbital will be perpendicular to the plane of sp2 hybrid orbital. Okay, so you can see that sp2 hybrid orbital this will have a trigonal planar geometry. Means suppose this one is the paper. Okay, suppose this is one paper, this one is carbon atom. So here one orbital, sp2 orbital, here another sp2 orbital, and the third sp2 orbital is here. See here, they are forming just like a triangle, the orbitals are just like a triangle, and the bond angle will be around, will be 120 degree. Okay, here the three orbitals lie in one plane, that is lie in the plane of the paper. Here see, they are forming triangle, that is why trigonal. There, these three orbitals are in the same plane of paper, so that is why they are planar. So trigonal planar geometry. Okay, and the unhybridized p orbital will be perpendicular to the plane of paper. This one is the p orbital, and it will be perpendicular to the plane of paper. The first orbital lobe will be above the plane of paper, and the second lobe of p orbital will be below the paper. Okay, so now carbonyl carbon, here it will use three sp2 orbitals, hybrid orbitals, to form three sigma bonds. Okay, with one oxygen atom of carbonyl group and the two other with two other atoms or groups. Here you can see that this is carbon. The first bond will be formed between carbon and oxygen atom. This one is a sigma bond. Okay, that is head-on overlap, and the remaining two will be bonded with hydrogen atom or any alkyl group. This will also be hydrogen, this will also be sigma bonded. Okay, so first sigma orbital is overlapped with oxygen atom, and the rest two with two other atoms or groups. Okay, all the three sigma bonds lie in one plane of paper at an angle 120 degree, that is planar molecule with trigonal carbonyl carbon. Okay, this carbon atom has trigonal planar geometry, that is planar molecule with trigonal carbonyl carbon. Okay, the unhybridized p orbital of carbonyl carbon forms pi bond with oxygen atom, pi bond with oxygen atom by overlapping sidewise, that is lateral overlapping with half filled p orbital of oxygen atom. Okay, now here the carbonyl carbon is sp2 hybridized, so the oxygen will also undergo sp2 hybridization with its 1s orbital and 2 p orbital to form 3 sp2 hybrid orbitals. One will be utilized with while bonding with carbon. As you know that carbon will give one electron and oxygen will give one electron to form this carbon oxygen sigma bond. Okay, and oxygen will have now two lone pairs here. Okay, which, since oxygen valency is 2, okay, so it cannot bond these two lone pair of electrons with another groups. Now carbon has one p orbital and oxygen will also have one p orbital, both of which will contain one electron. Okay, so now this unhybridized p orbital of carbon will form pi bond by sidewise overlapping or lateral overlapping with this p orbital of oxygen atom. Both have one pair of electron, oh sorry, both have one electron each. So those two electrons will combine to form a pi bond. Okay, so here this carbon atom will form bond with this oxygen atom. So as we can see here in this diagram, that this is the carbon atom. Okay, this is bonded to two other alkyl groups and it has one unhybridized p orbital. This is one oxygen atom which has undergo hybridization, sp2 hybridization. So this oxygen atom uses one orbital out of the three sp2 hybrid orbitals to form one bond with oxygen, and rest two sp2 hybrid orbitals contain lone pair of electrons. And there is similarly like that of carbon, this oxygen atom will have one unhybridized p orbital in which one electron is there. So you can check by yourself how does oxygen hybridized in sp2 hybridization. Okay, so now this p orbital electron of carbon will form bond with the p orbital electron of oxygen through pi bond. Okay, and this one is sigma bond, that is sigma bond, and this p orbital will form bond through a pi bond. So the scenario will look like this. Okay, see these lobes, these violet color lobes are pi bond above and below carbon and oxygen atom. Okay, since the carbonyl group is since the carbonyl group is a planar molecule, so the carbonyl group will remain in one plane. Okay, this all the three sigma bonds of carbon will remain in one plane. And see here, this carbon and this oxygen will remain in one plane, and this p orbital will overlap above the plane, this one above the plane and this one below the plane. Okay, so now see here, the oxygen atom has two lone pair of electrons which occupies the remaining two sp2 hybrid orbitals. Okay, carbonyl carbon and three carbon atoms attached to it lie in the same plane. That is here the carbonyl carbon and three other atoms attached to it. Three other atoms means one oxygen atom, and the rest two are, it may be alkyl group or it may be hydrogen group depending on the molecule. Okay, so carbonyl carbon and three atoms attached to it lie in the same plane, and the pi electron cloud is above and below this plane. Okay, above and below this plane. So here you can see that the oxygen atom electronegativity 3.5 is more electronegative than carbon atom electronegative value 2.5. Oxygen atom tends to attract the electron cloud of the pi bond towards itself. It is because of more electronegative value of oxygen atom. Okay, and therefore it acquires a partial negative charge, and carbon becomes slightly positively charged. As here you can see that oxygen atom develops a partial negative charge and carbon develops a partial positive charge due to electronegativity difference. So the dipole moment of these carbonyl compounds varies from 2.3 dBi to 2.8 dBi. This is because of these groups present as substituent in the carbonyl compound. If this one has, if the groups have electron donating tendency or electron withdrawing tendency, based on these groups, the dipole moment are estimated to 2.3 to 2.8 dBi. Okay. Now, high polarity of carbonyl group is explained on the basis of resonance between the following neutral and dipolar structure. Okay, here you can see that this one is the neutral structure. Okay, and this one is the dipolar structure. Here what is happening is that oxygen is taking the bonded pair of electrons, that the pi bonded pair of electrons towards itself. Remember always that sigma bond will never undergo resonance. Okay, because breaking of sigma bond requires a very high amount of energy, because that is, the bond is forming through head-on collision. Okay, sorry, head-on overlap, whereas pi bond is through sidewise. So to break sidewise bond is much more easier than the head-on overlap bonds. Okay, so in resonance always p orbital takes part. Okay, always p orbital, not any sigma orbital. So here you can see that the high polarity is explained through these two structures, neutral structure. This one is the neutral structure, and this one is the dipolar structure. Dipolar since here two poles are generated. Always remember that resonance is just a theoretical concept. Okay, so here we are drawing this structure just theoretically. Okay, so here oxygen is taking that pi orbital electron towards itself and becoming negative charge, and carbon is becoming positive charge, as it is now trivalent, not tetravalent. So carbon develops a positive charge. As carbon develops a positive charge, so carbonyl carbon will be now electrophilic, that is Lewis acidic in nature. Okay, and carbonyl oxygen will behave as nucleophilic, that is Lewis basic in nature. So being highly polar, it predisposed towards attack by nucleophiles at carbon and electrophiles as oxygen. Okay, being highly polar, so you can see here that if we consider this structure, okay, oxygen has negative charge and carbon has positive charge. So this structure is pre-exposed to attack by nucleophiles towards carbon. So nucleophile will always have negative charge. So now you see here a negative charge, where it will attract towards a positive charge or towards a negative charge. See, nucleophile bearing negative charge, nucleophile bearing negative charge. Now if it goes and attacks oxygen, then there is a negative charge, so it will repel each other. Like charges repel each others, unlike charges attract each other. So it will go and attack positive charge carbon. Similarly, if an electrophile is there, okay, electrophile always bears a positive charge, okay, or it has a positive center. So now electrophiles will attack oxygen. So now oxygen will attack electrophile, okay, because unlike charges attracts each others. Okay, one thing here, note, remembering, worth remembering, that here you see that how I have shown the arrows. I have not shown the arrow like this, from electrophile will go and attack oxygen. No, it will not be like this. Okay, because always in a compound the negative charge density moves towards a positive charge density, because positive charge is nothing but the absence of negative charge. Okay, absence of electrons. Always electrons move in a compound. Okay, so if you want to show the reaction to, then you have to show that here negative charge means it has much more electron density, that is more electrons are present, so the electrons will go and attack the electrophile, that is electrons will go and attack the positive center. Similarly here also in nucleophile more number of electrons are there, so electrons will go and attack the positive carbon, because carbon is devoid of electrons, so it has nothing. So the negative charge, that is the negatively charged electrons, will go and occupy the space there. Okay, so remember your arrows. Okay, it will always go from negative to positive. Okay, so now reactivity in carbonyl compounds. As I have shown you that this carbonyl group, here the oxygen atom will be attacked by electrophiles and this carbon atom will be attacked by nucleophiles. Another reactivity is also there, this alpha carbon. Okay, because carbon develops a positive charge here, so this hydrogen will be acidic in nature. Okay, it will readily give this carbon atom will, this alpha carbon atom will readily give this hydrogen atom and bears a negative charge, which will stabilize this positive charge. Okay, but this kind of reaction is out of the scope of your syllabus, out of your syllabus, so you do not have to worry. So you will consider it only attack by electrophiles in the oxygen atom of carbonyl group and attack by nucleophiles in the carbonyl carbon. So aldehydes and ketone contain three regions which is most reactive: the Lewis basic oxygen and the electrophilic carbon oxygen. This adjacent alpha carbon is not in your syllabus. Okay? Just you should know that how many types of reactivity centers are present in your molecule. So here you can see that this one is a carbonyl compound and this one is a polar compound. Okay, so the carbonyl group undergo ionic addition. So see here, this one positive charge is going towards oxygen and this negative charge is going towards carbon. See, I am not showing here any reaction. Okay, I am just indicating where it goes. Okay, so my arrows are like this. Okay, so this part, X part, is going to be added to oxygen and this Y part is going to be added to carbon. Okay, so nucleophiles bond to electrophilic carbon. This nucleophiles, here Y is nucleophile and the Lewis basic carbonyl oxygen bonds to electrophiles. Okay, here electrophile is X. So this carbonyl compound undergoes ionic addition. The two ions are being added to the carbonyl compound. Here you can see. So now how the addition takes place? I've shown you that it undergoes ionic addition. So what is the mechanism? So it can undergo through two pathways. Okay, nucleophilic addition, protonation, and electrophilic protonation addition. As you can see by the name, nucleophilic addition hyphen protonation. That means first nucleophilic addition occurs and then protonation occurs, and in electrophilic protonation addition, first electrophilic protonation occurs and then addition. These two are inverse of each other. See here, first addition occurs then protonation, and in the second one first protonation occurs then addition. Okay, so what is nucleophilic addition protonation? Here you can see that the nucleophile attack takes place under neutral or more commonly basic conditions. Okay, basic conditions means the nucleophile have a high electron density. Okay, so as the nucleophile approaches, that is frequently anionic, means having negative charge. Okay, as the nucleophile approaches the electrophilic carbon, the carbon rehybridizes and the electron pair of the bond moves over the oxygen, thereby producing an alkoxide ion. So here you can see that the nucleophile bearing a negative charge, while going to attack the carbon atom which is bearing a positive charge, so it undergoes rehybridization in which the oxygen takes the pi bonded electrons towards itself and thus alkoxide ion is forming. See here, why does this happen? Because carbon has to maintain its tetravalency. Okay, see here, carbon is tetravalent and in this one also carbon is tetravalent. Okay, so to fill up their octets, this rehybridization occurs. Then subsequent protonation usually from a protic solvent such as water or alcohol. Here you can see that water is present as a solvent, yields the final addition product. So first here you see that nucleophile goes and attacks and then alkoxide ion is formed, and that alkoxide ion takes one proton from the protic solvent to give us the addition product. So first nucleophilic addition occurs, then protonation occurs. And remember, This type of addition always occurs in basic conditions. Okay, that is the nucleophile having a high electron density. That is basic condition. Okay, so now how the addition takes place. Okay, I have shown you here the mechanism, but how the nucleophile goes and attacks the carbon atom. Here nucleophile attacks the electrophilic carbon atom from a direction approximately perpendicular to the plane of sp2 hybrid orbitals. Okay, here the nucleophile goes from here the nucleophile comes to attack the carbonyl carbon from a perpendicular position to the plane of paper. It may be from above the plane, or it may be from below the plane. Okay, depending on the approach. Here the nucleophile may be present below the plane and it may attack the carbonyl carbon from below the plane. Okay, two attacks can be possible. The hybridization of the carbonyl carbon changes from sp2 to sp3. So here it was planar. Okay, that is the carbonyl carbon was sp2 hybridized. After the nucleophilic addition, the alkoxide ion becomes tetrahedral in nature. So now hybridization of the carbon changes from sp2 to sp3. Okay, and a tetrahedral alkoxy intermediate is formed from trigonal carbonyl substrate, and then the protonation occurs to give the addition product. Now it is worth remembering that the new nucleophile carbon bond, this is Z, is the nucleophile carbon single bond Z, okay, is made up entirely of the electron pair of the nucleophile. Here the electron pair of the nucleophile, here you can see that. Okay, in this example here you can see that nucleophile contains a negative charge. That means it has a pair of electrons. Two electrons are there, and two electrons are required for forming a bond. So those two electrons goes and forms a bond with carbon atom. As you can see here, this bond forming with nucleophile is in pink color, and the pair of electrons in nucleophile is also in pink color. So this bond, carbon nucleophile bond, is formed throughout through the electron pair of the nucleophile. The transformation is reminiscent of an SN2 reaction. Okay, as you can see that SN2 reaction, what happens is that a nucleophile goes and directly attacks the electropositive center, and the leaving group leaves the substrate. Okay, so here you can see that Z is the nucleophile. Here you can see Z is the nucleophile. Okay, Z minus, it is the nucleophile, it goes to attack the electropositive carbon, and here leaving group is the carbon oxygen pi bond. So a nucleophile goes and attacks the positive center, and this leaving group leaves. Okay, that is the pi bond was the leaving group. Okay, so here this is a kind of SN2 reaction. Okay, now additions of strongly basic nucleophiles to carbonyl groups typically follow the nucleophilic addition protonation pathway. Here you have to see that the strong basic nucleophiles, if the nucleophile is a base and it is very strong, that is it bears a negative charge, okay, then the addition follows nucleophilic addition protonation pathway, or else it will follow electrophilic protonation addition pathway. Okay, just the inverse of this one. So electrophilic protonation pathway. Okay, electrophilic protonation then addition pathway. The second mechanism occurs under acidic conditions and typically features neutral and relatively weak nucleophiles. Here that was strong nucleophile, and here it is weak nucleophile. Okay, example ammonia and its derivatives. Here the sequence event is inverted. Sequence of events is inverted. First, Lewis basic oxygen atom undergoes electrophilic attack by a proton, okay, giving protonated carbonyl compound. So as it by its name, electrophilic protonation. That means first the oxygen will be protonated through a electrophilic proton, okay, and it will give a protonated carbonyl compound. Now here you can see that this one is Lewis basic oxygen atom. So oxygen atom have high negative electron density, okay, and this proton has a positive charge, that is it is devoid of oxygen, devoid of electrons. So oxygen will go and attack, okay, the arrow should be from oxygen to the proton atom, okay, from negative charge to positive charge. Arrow should be from negative charge to positive charge. Always you keep this in mind, okay. So we are getting a protonated carbonyl group here, okay. This protonated carbonyl group, however it renders the carbonyl carbon strongly electrophilic, thus facilitating the subsequent very favorable nucleophilic attack that leads to the final addition product. Here you can see that now oxygen bears a positive charge. That means an electronegative carbon bearing a positive charge. That is, electronegative carbon is devoid of electrons. So imagine this one. Okay, if you want to go and play with your friends in evening and your parents does not allow that. Okay, so what you will do? You will be very angry, you will be reckless that I should go and play. You will, what you will do is that you will, what do you say, revolt against your parents, okay. Similarly here also the same thing. The oxygen atom here is electronegative. That means it should always have electrons, but here it develops a positive charge. So what it will do, it will pull the pi bonded electrons more towards itself from the carbonyl carbon atom, okay. Now it will pull the electrons more towards itself. As a result, this carbonyl carbon atom will become more electrophilic in nature. So if this one is more, this carbon atom is more electrophilic in nature, then the nucleophile, weak nucleophile can easily go and attack this one, okay. So you are getting this intermediate, and this then nucleophile loses one proton to becomes neutral. See here, nucleophile bears a positive charge because this one was neutral nucleophile, okay. So it does not contain any charge, but after giving its lone pair of electron for the formation of this nucleophile carbon bond, it will bear a positive charge. Hence it has to release this proton to become neutral and to give the final product, okay. So by its very nature, the electrophilic protonation addition mechanism is best suited for reactions of relatively weakly basic nucleophiles. Previously it was strongly basic, and this one is weakly basic nucleophiles, that is for weak nucleophiles. Strong nucleophiles will go and follow nucleophilic addition protonation, and weak nucleophiles will follow electrophilic protonation addition. In acidic media, protonation precedes the addition of the nucleophile. Now, if the reaction condition is acidic in nature, okay, in acidic medium, always the addition precedes the nucleophile attack. Means always first electrophilic protonation, then addition pathway will be followed. Now let us take an example of hydration of the carbonyl group. Now we will be taking the two mechanisms into account in this one. Okay, so hydration of carbonyl group. Water is capable of attacking the carbonyl group of aldehydes and ketones. Okay, the transformation can be catalyzed either by acid or by base and leads to equilibration with corresponding geminal diols. What is geminal diols? Geminal diols are the diols in which the two hydroxy group are in the same carbon atom. So here you can see that this first hydroxy group and second hydroxy group are in the same carbon, so geminal. And since it contains two hydroxy group, so diol, so geminal diol, also known as carbonyl hydrates. Okay. So here you can see that carbonyl group, water forming geminal diol. Okay, first mechanism. In the base catalyzed mechanism, the hydroxide functions as nucleophile. Okay, that is, this one is the nucleophilic, this one is nucleophilic addition, then protonation. Okay, water then protonates the intermediate adduct, a hydroxy alkoxide, to give the product diol and to regenerate the catalyst. Always remember, in nucleophilic addition then protonation, one alkoxide intermediate is formed. Okay, so this one, see here, hydroxy goes and attacks the carbonyl carbon forming an alkoxide. Okay, and then this protonates through the water molecule to give the geminal diol. Here in this one, this carbon oxygen bond should have been in pink color because this hydroxy is giving its electron pair for the formation of carbon oxygen single bond. Okay, and geminal diol is found. Okay, now in acid catalyzed medium, okay, see now acid catalyzed medium, in this kind of medium addition always precedes nucleophilic attack. Means in acidic medium electrophilic protonation and then the normal nucleophilic addition will take place. Okay, so the sequence of events is reversed here. Here initial protonation facilitates nucleophilic attack by the weak nucleophile water. So first protonation occurs. After protonation, the weak nucleophile can go and attack the carbonyl carbon. So this one is a protonated carbonyl. Okay, subsequently the catalytic proton is lost to re-enter the catalytic cycle. So here you can see that this oxygen atom will now bear a positive charge, as previously it was neutral. After giving its lone pair of electron, it will bear a positive charge. So it will lose one proton to give the final product. Okay, and then this proton will go and re-enter again in the catalytic cycle, and it will again react with another carbonyl group. Okay, and this will continue. So you can see that in nucleophilic addition, first intermediate is alkoxide ion, and in electrophilic protonation, a protonated carbonyl group will be present. Okay. Now, relative reactivity of aldehydes and ketones. So aldehydes and ketones relatively undergoes nucleophilic additions. As you have seen that nucleophilic additions takes two part, can take two pathways, that is first one is nucleophilic addition reaction, and then second one is electrophilic protonation then addition. First one is nucleophilic addition protonation, and second one is electrophilic protonation and addition. Okay, so here you can see that these two carbonyl compounds, that is aldehydes and ketones, undergoes nucleophilic addition reaction. However, ketones are less reactive than aldehydes. Now ketones are less reactive than aldehydes. Why this is so? So we can tell this one by the following ways. Okay, first one is inductive effect. So first, nucleophilic addition reactions may be attributed to the amount of positive charge generated on the carbon atom. So amount of positive charge generated on the carbon atom. A greater positive charge means a higher reactivity. That is, charge of the carbonyl carbon increases. That is the electrophilicity. That is the positive charge on the carbonyl carbon atom increases, then its reactivity also increases. Okay, if the positive charge is dispersed through the molecule, throughout the molecule, the carbonyl compound becomes more stable and its reactivity decreases. That means if the positive charge is dispersed within the molecule, okay, that is the positive charge is no longer only in the carbon atom, but it is dispersing through the alkyl or aryl substituents, then it will become more stable. As you have learned in the stability of carbocation, if alkyl groups are more, then the positive charge is dispersed within the molecule and thus the carbocation becomes more stable. Okay, but if a carbocation is becoming more stable, then its reactivity is decreased. Okay, that is, charge dispersion increases, then reactivity is decreased. So if the substituents are electron releasing substituent, then the electrophilic nature of the carbonyl carbon will decrease, and if the substituent is electron withdrawing in nature, then it will destabilize the carbonyl carbon and its electrophilicity nature will increase, thus its reactivity will also increase. Okay, now alkyl group is electron releasing group. It has plus I inductive effect. So electron releasing power, so if we consider aldehyde and ketone, okay, so electron releasing power of two alkyl groups in ketones is more than that of one in aldehyde. Ketone has two alkyl groups and aldehyde has only one. Okay, so as a result, the electron deficiency of carbon atom in the carbonyl group is satisfied more in ketone than in aldehyde. So electron deficiency means electropositive nature. So electropositive nature in ketone will be much more satisfied as it contains two alkyl groups as compared to aldehyde. So aldehyde contains only one alkyl group, so it cannot satisfy the electrophilic carbon to that extent as ketones can. Okay, so the reduced positive charge on carbon in case of ketones discourage the attack of nucleophiles. Hence, electronically, ketones are less reactive than aldehydes. Okay, so here you can see that order of reactivity. So first, this one is electron withdrawing group, that is, it has minus I effect. So it increases the electrophilic nature of the carbonyl carbon. That is, sorry, this one is an electron withdrawing group. That is, it has minus I effect. So it will increase the electrophilic nature of the carbonyl carbon. As a result, its reactivity will increase. Okay. Now here you can see that this one is formaldehyde. This one has both hydrogen groups. Okay. Moving to acetaldehyde, now one methyl group is present. So methyl group has plus I effect. So what it will do is it will push the bonded pair of electrons towards the electrophilic carbon center. As a result, some amount of electron deficiency will be compensated by this alkyl group. As a result, the electrophilicity of this carbon will get lowered by some extent now, so its reactivity will decrease as compared to formaldehyde, which does not contain any alkyl group. Similarly, if we move on to a ketone, that is acetone, it has two methyl groups. Okay, so both the methyl groups will push electron towards the carbon, electrophilic center carbon. As a result, its electron deficiency somewhat will be more compensated as compared to acetaldehyde. So now, as its electron deficiency is more compensated, so its reactivity will go down as compared to acetaldehyde. Okay, so we can take an example in ketones also, ethyl methyl ketone and diethyl ketone. Here one ethyl group is present and one methyl group, but here two ethyl groups are present. So ethyl groups have much more electron releasing tendency as compared to methyl groups. So here the carbonyl carbon will be much more. Here's the electrophilic nature of carbonyl carbon will be much more compensated by these two ethyl group. So as a result, its reactivity will decrease. So reactivity of ethyl methyl ketone is greater than that of diethyl ketone. Okay. So this one is the electronic effects. So reactivity can be explained using two effects, that is electronic effect and another one is steric effect. So we have learned the electronic effect. Now moving on to steric effect. So the size of alkyl group is much more than that of hydrogen atom. In aldehydes there is one alkyl group, but in ketones there are two alkyl groups attached to the carbonyl group. Okay, aldehydes there is one alkyl group, ketones two carbonyl group. The alkyl groups are larger than a hydrogen atom, and this causes hindrance to the attacking group. So if you consider the nucleophilic attack, okay, so this nucleophilic attack is a kind of SN2 reaction. So if in a molecule, okay, these groups have a very large substituent, so while attacking nucleophile, okay, while attacking nucleophile will face steric hindrance because of these two groups. So as a result, what will happen, the reactivity of this carbonyl carbon will decrease. Okay, so now you see that the alkyl groups are larger than a hydrogen atom. Okay, in aldehyde always one hydrogen atom is present. Okay, so the alkyl groups are larger than hydrogen atom and this causes hindrance to the attacking group. This is called steric hindrance. If you compare aldehyde and ketone, okay, so here you can see that aldehyde contains one hydrogen atom, but in ketones the carbonyl group is always attached to two other alkyl substituents or aryl substituent. Okay, so if we consider here aldehyde and ketone, so aldehyde will be much more reactive than ketone because it contains hydrogen group which is small in size as compared to the alkyl groups that are present in ketones, which are larger in size compared to hydrogens. Okay, so here you see that as the number and size, okay, both number and size of the alkyl group increases, the hindrance of the attack of the nucleophile also increases and reactivity decreases. That is, bulkiness around the carbonyl group increases, reactivity decreases. Here both number and size of the alkyl group. So if we consider these two aldehydes, here both contain one hydrogen atom, but this one formaldehyde contains another hydrogen atom, whereas acetaldehyde contains a methyl group, that is an alkyl substituent. So methyl group is larger in size as compared to hydrogen atom, so it will have some steric effect towards the nucleophile while approaching to the electrophilic carbon atom. Similarly, you see that acetone, here two methyl groups are present. Okay, see here one alkyl group, here two alkyl group. Now if you consider another ketone, see here the size of the alkyl groups are increased, so as a result reactivity of the carbonyl carbon will decrease. Hence the reactivity order is like this. So this one is the question. Rank the following aldehydes and ketones in order from least reactive to most reactive. So these are your options. You just do this one, and I will be revealing the results towards the end of the lecture. So you can pause the video for a minute and try to solve this one. So I'll give you the answers at the end of the lecture. Okay. So moving on to aromatic aldehydes and ketones. The aromatic aldehydes and ketones are less reactive than corresponding aliphatic analogs. The aromatic portion, if we consider this carbonyl group, okay, if a substituent is aryl, then it is known as aromatic carbonyl compound. Okay, so this aromatic carbonyl compound is less reactive as compared to the aliphatic carbonyl compounds. For example, you can see benzaldehyde, which contains one hydrogen atom and one benzene ring, is less reactive than aliphatic aldehydes. So if we consider its analog, that formaldehyde or acetaldehyde, then benzaldehyde will be less reactive compared to its analog. So why is it so? So if you see in the structure of benzaldehyde, okay, it undergoes resonance. Here see that oxygen will always bear a negative charge and carbon will bear a positive charge. So what we will do that this electrophilic carbon is in conjugation with the benzene ring. So to satisfy, that is to stable, to make this carbocation stable, this benzene ring will shift a pi bonded electron towards the carbon atom. As a result, now this carbon will bear a positive charge. Similarly, this one is in conjugation with this double bond, so this double bond will shift over here, and now this carbon will contain a positive charge, and similarly this one will shift over, this double bond will shift over this carbon carbon single bond, and it will bear a positive charge. So here you can see that the positive charge in the electrophilic carbonyl carbon, okay, the positive charge in the electrophilic carbonyl carbon is dispersed within the benzene ring through resonance. Okay, see here, first this carbon, second this carbon, third this carbon. Okay, here the positive charge is dispersed within the benzene ring. So as charge dispersion increases, reactivity decreases. Okay, so you see that it is clear from the resonating structures that due to electron releasing, that is plus R resonance effect of the benzene ring, the magnitude of the positive charge on the carbonyl group decreases, and consequently it becomes less susceptible to the nucleophilic attack. Okay, so amongst aromatic aldehydes and ketones, aromatic aldehydes are more reactive than alkyl aryl ketones, in which in turn are more reactive than diaryl ketones. Okay, here you see that aromatic aldehydes are more reactive than alkyl aryl ketones. Why is it so? Since in aromatic aldehydes one hydrogen atom is present, whereas in alkyl aryl ketones, okay, a alkyl group is present. See here, this aryl portion and this aromatic portion, aromatic aldehyde, these two are same. Okay, if we consider here this one example, PHCOH, so this is aromatic aldehydes, and its ketonic part will be PHCO, here CH3. So here you can see that this phenyl portion is same in both the case, whereas in aldehyde one hydrogen is present, but in ketone one alkyl group is present. So always aromatic aldehyde will be much more reactive than alkyl, this one aryl. Okay, so alkyl aryl ketones, okay, which in turn will be more reactive than diaryl ketones. So this will be much more, this will be, this alkyl aryl ketone will be more reactive as compared to diaryl ketones, means 2 aryl group, and you know the reason why it is so. So here you can see benzaldehyde is more reactive than acetophenone, which in turn is more reactive than benzophenone. That is this example. Okay, first one is acetaldehyde, this one acetaldehyde, then acetophenone, then benzophenone. Now here you see that phenyl acetaldehyde, now this one is more reactive than benzaldehyde. Why is it so? So now you can see here that this portion is not an aryl group, this one is aryl group attached to one alkyl chain. Okay, so this one be like this, pH CH2 then CO here, and this one is H. So here see, this one is a CH2 group, not a phenyl group or not an aryl group. Okay, so this is just a simple alkyl type substituent. Okay, not aromatic. Okay, so I have come to end my lecture. So as now you can see that, let's solve this question. So first you can see that from least reactive to most reactive. Okay, I have written the answer in opposite order. Okay, so first you see that in formaldehyde 2 hydrogens are present. Okay, this one is highly reactive if we consider both electronically and sterically. Okay, so first this one, then you can see here that number C, only one hydrogen is replaced by a propyl group. So now its bulkiness is starting to increase bit by bit. Okay, then after that number B, here two alkyl groups. So this A and C were aldehydes. We know aldehydes are much more reactive than ketones. So from now D and E are ketones. Okay, so aldehydes are more reactive than ketones, so A and C is more reactive than B. Okay, so now B, in B we have two propyl groups. If we look into D, so you can see here the bulkiness is increased, one propyl group is substituted, and here the bulkiness increases, and in E this bulkiness is much more. Okay, so if we follow the order, so first it will be E, which is less reactive than D, which in turn is less reactive than C. Less react. First is E, then D, then B, then C, and the most reactive one is A. Okay. So I hope you have all understood this portion. If you have any doubts, any kind of doubts regarding this lecture or regarding the previous lecture, you can mention it in the comments below and try to learn as much as possible. Okay, so thank you for your time. Have a good day.